Hello and welcome to the Mid-Ohio Valley Public Forum video podcast. I'm Jennifer Bryant.
And I'm Kim Van Ryn.
And we're your co-hosts. The current pandemic has changed life quite a bit in our country.
And this is an election year. Candidates are not able to campaign the way they normally would. We're doing these podcasts to help you get better acquainted with the candidates and make more informed decisions at the polls in a few weeks.
If you're one of the candidates and you're interested in being interviewed, you can reach out to us through our Facebook page, that's the MOV Public Forum, or you can email us, movpublicforum@gmail.com. But you should do it soon because Election Day is less than a month away and people are already voting.
Hi, today we'll be interviewing Kent Leonhardt. Kent is the incumbent agricultural commissioner of West Virginia. Welcome, Kent. We're so glad you could join us today.
Well, it's certainly great to be here, and thank you so much for doing this community service so we can educate the voters on the importance of this job.
Well, with that, sir, take just a minute and give us a short introduction on who you are and why you decided to run for re-election to be the agricultural commissioner again.
Yes, again, I'm a Kent Leonhardt. I am currently the Commissioner of Agriculture for the great state of West Virginia. I love my job. That's one of the reasons I'm looking forward to serving another 4 years. I'm going to ask everybody for their vote. I am a retired Lieutenant Colonel of the United States Marine Corps. I had the privilege of serving men and women in peace and war for almost 21 years. Some of the highlights, I'm a graduate of the Command and Staff College, Defense Intelligence College. I went to the National Security Agency as a fellow to the director of NSA, and then I became the Marine Corps' liaison officer to the National Security Agency. I led a 68-man special intelligence team during Desert Shield and Desert Storm. I retired at the rank of Lieutenant Colonel with the Legion of Merit, Combat Action Ribbon, and 8 other personal decorations. I bought a farm in 1982, an abandoned farm in West Virginia in Monongalia County. It's been abandoned since 1957, and we just used it for recreation until 1996 when I retired from the Marine Corps, and then we restored the 1890 home, my wife and I did, and we took the 205 acres, we grew it to 380 acres and 5 additional leases. I know what it takes to grow an agricultural business. I've got degrees in wildlife management, business management, and plus all this great experience. I spent 2 years in the state Senate, and very proud of that record there, and certainly proud of the accomplishments we've accomplished at the Department of Agriculture over this past 4 years. I've got a great team. And my wife, the First Lady of West Virginia Agriculture, she wants to do it for another 4 years as well.
Well, Commissioner, it sounds like you left the Marine Corps the same year I left the Navy. So
thank you for your service.
Well, you too. West Virginia, as I'm sure you know, but a lot of people won't, so I'm bringing it up. 98% of the farms in West Virginia are classified as small farms, and 97% are classified as family farms. So what we have in West Virginia is kind of the exact opposite of what most agriculture is throughout our country. We're mostly small family farms, whereas I spent time out in the Central Valley of California, agribusiness. Huge farms, thousands of acres, farmed by corporations. That's not what we have here. So what's your plan to help the small family farms in West Virginia thrive?
Well, actually, my plan is to continue doing what we've already started to do. By all measure, agriculture is up in West Virginia. I went to a tractor sales off right there near you in Mineral Wells that just opened up. Nobody would make that kind of investment if agriculture wasn't doing well in West Virginia. Actually, USDA said we have 5,000 more head of cattle starting 2020 than in 2019. So that's great to hear. But we're also up in specialty crops, maple syrup, We're more than doubled that since I've been in office. Honey production is way up. We've got lavender growing on abandoned mineland sites right now with processing. Under the 2014 bill, not issuing any license under the new 2018 bill yet, we went from 28 growers to 300 growers. What we're doing at the Department of Agriculture is we've changed the mentality. Number one, 90% of the Department of Agriculture is a regulatory. We're making sure that you eat from a safe and affordable and abundant food supply, and that's what we've accomplished. The other 10% is that business development for agribusinesses. But we've been able to merge all that together by doing an educate before regulate. We want to make sure that the small family farm understands what they need to do to grow, to sell to the larger big box stores, whether it be a Kroger, and get access to other markets. Those are the type of things that we've been doing all along. We've renamed the marketing side to agribusiness development to fit more closely what's needed. We've transformed the department from an primarily regulatory to an educate before regulate, and it's working exceedingly well.
Well, much like the population of West Virginia, which is in decline and has been for decades, the number of family farms and farms in general is declining as well. At the peak, back in the 1930s, we reached a high of 97,000 farms. But today, we're down somewhere around 20,000, and we're shedding farm operations weekly. Our farmers retire, and the next generation doesn't seem to want to continue the family farm operation for multiple reasons. Do you have a plan to turn this around, and how do you think you do it?
Well, actually, I think we've already done that. Like I told you, we've got that farm that's growing lavender. We've got more hemp farmers that have come on board, and we didn't have processing when I took office. Now we have processing for hemp in the state of West Virginia. We're bringing those food and other farm product manufacturing into the state. We're giving farmers access to markets. We've also, since I asked the legislature to turn the farmers markets over to the Department of Agriculture, and we've grown farmers markets more than double them, from a little over 100 to over 200 since I've been in office, and we took over the regulation of the farmers markets in the state of West Virginia. What we're doing is we've put out field reps, and they're helping do business planning. And that's been extremely successful. And actually, the challenge is, how do you do the old way of farming, which had those 97,000 farms back in the 1930s, and usher in the new? By our count, we figure we're about 2,000 farms to the good since I've taken office. And we've done it, but they look different. They're not the usual cow-calf operation or the sheep farm of the past. We still have our sheep farmers, and we still have our small farms out there, but they're doing things, and they're doing value-added products as well. They're selling right off the farm. Since I've been in office, we took the on-farm slaughter of chickens from 5,000 to 20,000. Now somebody that raises chickens on their small farm can sell them at a higher price than if they tried to do it otherwise, and they can start to make a living on it. And that's what our farmers are doing. We've looked at the regulations. We've gone in and we've fixed a lot of it. We've gotten rid of a lot of old regulations, and we brought on some new, more modern. So we have more hydroponics growing. It doesn't take as many acres to do a good hydroponic. When I first took office, I asked WVU to tell me how many field acres of tomatoes can I replace with an acre under glass of hydroponic tomatoes. That creates a year-round growing system and year-round jobs, rather than just getting all the tomatoes in at one flush. And it was about 200 acres to one. So using that type of knowledge and working with people that want to make the investment, we're growing agriculture in West Virginia. The farms just look a little bit different.
So give us your thoughts on sustainable farming. Do you know farmers that are doing this successfully here in West Virginia? And what are your plans for encouraging and increasing this?
Well, we do have farmers doing that. And that all goes back to proper business planning, making sure that a farmer understands that he has a crop, has a market before he grows the crop. All too often, farmers would grow something not knowing what the market's going to be at the end of the growing season. Farmer, has a calf, doesn't know what that calf's going to sell for when he gets it weaned. We've got to start doing things where the farmer knows, this is my input, this is what I'm going to get at the end. So they make good business planning. That's how we start with sustainable agriculture, is to make sure people have that plan and that they develop their own markets. We have a lot more farm. Yeah, somebody tried to call me. And that's
We lost sound
happening.
for a moment.
Yeah, and that's what's happening right now. We have a lot more on-farm sales, and they're developing their markets, and people are coming to them and buying more. So we're helping train. We started an agricultural series, homesteading series, that every week we were doing a homesteading series, and at night, once a week, a different topic, so people can see what's out there, and they can use their ingenuity and come up with, hey, I like that, and I can make this work. And then we're here at the department to help with the business planning.
Well, one new trend in agriculture is something being called urban farming. And there's not a lot of urban area in West Virginia, or at least not what nationally people would consider urban. But we live in Parkersburg, which is the third or fourth largest city in the state, depending on whether the kids are at WVU or not. People are using vacant land in urban areas and farming it, and they're using their urban residential lots to grow food crops rather than grass lawns and ornamental flowers. The USDA this past spring announced that they would be giving $3 million in grants for the development of urban agriculture. And we have a lot of vacant lots in our city that are producing little to no income for the city and actually costing money because we have to pay someone to mow and maintain those lots. I'm sure other urban areas in West Virginia have the same issue. Do you have a plan for encouraging urban agriculture in West Virginia?
Absolutely, and actually we're actually doing it. Part of that was the homesteading series, because a lot of those things can be applied to the urban area. Right there in Parkersburg, you have a great operation that's starting, and they're teaching people how to grow in the urban areas. It's called Community Resources. They're actually using some land that's owned by the Department of Agriculture, and we're using some of our staff to help and advise them as they get along. They're also using that to help with rehabilitation of former substance abuse personnel. So we're training those people into another skill, and they're learning the benefits of healthy foods. Grow Ohio Valley started as an urban agriculture. The first time I met one of the leaders there, Danny Swan, he was growing underneath a highway overpass right there in the urban area. And they've grown that. And we've been working with our community planners, our resource planners, working with them to help develop those markets. So we are out there actually physically working on urban agriculture. And we've even talked to the prison system, hopefully that we can do some of that training using hydroponics in the state prisons at some point in the future. So we are working towards those, because when folks come out of rehabilitation, whether it be substance abuse or prisons, we want them to have some type of a skill to go to, and an understanding of how eating healthy can actually help them with their own issues.
So, Commissioner, in your opinion, what are the three biggest issues facing agriculture or farmers in West Virginia right now? And do you have a plan for dealing with those three issues?
Well, actually, I'd say there's four, but I'll combine two to make three. And that's access to capital and access to land being one of them. So we've started talking with the Farm Bureau and other veterans and some of the other local areas to try to develop that mentoring program. Because as you mentioned earlier, some of the farmers, as they get older, they don't have anybody who wants to take over it. Maybe we can get a young farmer that they could mentor and then eventually buy out that family farm and take it over and make it, keep it operational. Access to capital. we've been talking with lending institutions, and I've been working with the Commerce Department to try to develop a plan for access to capital, particularly for infrastructure. You know, we've worked very hard with Buzz Foods down there, and we now have 2 meat processing plants, one under Buzz Foods, one being actually built on abandoned mine land, which is repurposing mine land, and we're going to have another meat processing facility in the state of West Virginia, which will help with the backlog. And then there's another one up in the northern half of the state that's being built right now. So that's part of the improvement packages that we're trying to get. And I've been working with the Commerce Department trying to improve that access to capital. In fact, I had a banker that lends capital fly into Charleston just to meet with me and says, I like what's going on in West Virginia. I want to play in your sandbox a little bit more. So that's great news, but it's a matter of putting West Virginia on the map, showing a good light of West Virginia, and then letting people know that the resources are available, and then helping them through. That's one. The second one we talk about is the age of the young farmers. But I'm happy to report we do have a declining population, like you mentioned, but we have broken the 1960 record of FFA participation in the state of West Virginia. Now, I don't run that. The Department of Education runs that, but I'm certainly a big supporter and a big champion, and we do everything we can. And I've visited many, many of these schools and the groups, and I continue to encourage, you know, not all of them will go into farming, but they're going to be an educated consumer. And they're also going to be, some of them are going to go into agriculture. Hopefully they're going to stay here in West Virginia. So that's how we work on the young farmer side of things. And then the third one is access to markets. You know, part of our planning resource folks that are in the field are helping people find access to markets. There's a guy that grows, that has been successful in Hampshire County. He's raising pork. He gets it slaughtered, and then he takes it to the DC market to sell, and he's doing very well. So those are the type of things we go out and we listen to the farmers. If a regulation needs to be tweaked or adjusted, we go out there and advocate on the behalf of the farmer to make sure that we get those regulations tweaked. So we're working on all those 3 things, but those are the 3 things: land and capital, access to markets, and then the aging farmer.
With that, we'd like to give you a few minutes to tell us and the voters anything you think we may have missed, including how to get more information on your campaign, get a yard sign, donate, etc.
Okay, well, all those 3 things, yard signs, donate, get involved with the campaign, can be found on KentForWV.com. That's KentForWV.com. We'd love to have you visit. There's a lot of great stuff you'll see on that website and moving forward. But things that we didn't talk about that I'd like to mention a little bit is how well I work with our national leaders, our 3 congressmen and 2 senators. I can make a phone call to any of them and they take my call. In fact, one Senator Capito asked me to testify before Congress, Senate Committee on Chronic Wasting Disease, which is a disease that's affecting our wild herds, but could also get into our captive deer farms as well. We don't have any of that problem right now in West Virginia, and we want to keep it that way. But the result of that testimony that I gave with 2 other individuals was we now have a consolidated national plan for looking at all the research on chronic wasting disease. Before, it was just scattered all over the place. You know, USMCA, the trade agreement with Mexico and Canada, was so important to the farmers nationally. I wrote an op-ed in support of that. The White House saw the op-ed, retweeted it, and then asked permission to use it to get it passed through Congress. Obviously, I said yes, and I had the privilege and it got passed, and I had the privilege of being at the White House lawn when the president signed that into U.S. law. So we are getting noticed here in West Virginia. I've been named Vice President of the Southern Association of State Directors of Agriculture, and in 2022, I'll be the president. We'll have the annual meeting right here in West Virginia where we can really highlight and showcase West Virginia agriculture. And one final thing we didn't get to touch on, when I took office, we were separated from the Southern U.S. Trade Association. And That is one of the 4 regionals that help use federal dollars to match up agricultural producers with foreign trade. West Virginia was out of it. I rejoined it. We took the old person. I hired a new person with value added and gift experience. And we went out to 4 different meetings, got trained on it. Now those folks, and we have 1 person still working on it, goes to the meetings on their own. And now I can say we have exported tea that's been processed here in West Virginia. We've exported maple sugar that's been processed here in West Virginia. So those type of things that we have done by re-engaging the Department of Agriculture, I'm very proud of our accomplishments, and I'm hoping everybody thinks so too. Oh, and one other thing that's very, very important, we kept agriculture open during the pandemic. A lot of states were not able to. We didn't dump any milk. We didn't euthanize any chickens. We didn't euthanize any hogs. In fact, we brought more milk in and had it processed and delivered. We did not see the shortages at the beginning of this that a lot of other states did. And that's due to the great work myself and my department did. And that's why people should vote for me again, because I've got proven leadership and I've gotten us all through a crisis, and we're going to continue to do the same great work. And we also worked with the food banks and kept our citizens fed.
Well, Commissioner Leonhardt, we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us this afternoon, and we wish you the best of luck in your campaign. And thank you for joining us. Everyone, remember to wash your hands.